What's up everybody, Ross Madden here. Welcome to the show. Today we are talking about an article that I found in this MOA magazine, and MOA stands for Military Officers Association of America, and right on the front page you see recruiting woes. With more than 7 in 10 young Americans unfit for duty, the services are searching for ways to fill their ranks. And I want to dig into this article because it reveals some incredible things about what's happening to our children in America, and why is the military the first people to give a shit. 7 in 10 Americans are unfit for duty, and it digs into why, and we'll get into that in just 1 second. But first, prepare yourself for the greatest shilling of all time. Everyone's got to go to truthclothing.io and get your Truth Matters shirt. Everyone thinks truth matters. Everyone's thinking it. You're thinking it. That's why you're here. That's why you're here learning about the military and about what's really going on in this world, because truth matters. But when you put on this shirt, you're not just thinking it. You're saying, hey, truth matters. Truth matters. It actually feels pretty nice. It's very soft. And that's the truth, because truth matters. Like I said, you can go to truthmatters.io and pick up your own Truth Matters t-shirt. I highly recommend these t-shirts, and you support Nathan Stoltman, who is a great truther. Getting into the article. After years of personnel drawdowns, I assume under President Obama, while we were doing the no boots on the ground policy and hiring ISIS fighters to run our wars, some of our services are adding thousands more troops back to the ranks, but finding the next crop of fit and willing warfighters isn't an easy feat. More than 70% of 17 to 24-year-olds are ineligible for military service, according to DoD data. Nearly a third of those young people weigh too much to qualify. Criminal records, past drug abuse, and failure to meet educational requirements are other top disqualifiers. Personally, I see no issues with having military personnel be extremely fit and well educated. If that means that we only accept the creme de la creme, then so what? Our military should be the best and the brightest, and we don't need a ton of them. I'm not exactly clear on why we are increasing the number of troops and personnel we have. Trump campaigned on bringing the troops home, while at the same time campaigning on building up the military bigger and better than it's ever been. When it comes to paying lip service to both sides of the fence, military action is the number one thing that I think Trump has trouble with. Major General Jeffrey Snow, the head of Army Recruiting Command, has said the shrinking pool of eligible prospects has led some services to alter their recruiting standards to let more people in. They're allowing more tattoos, they're allowing past drug use, specifically marijuana use, and they're allowing certain medical conditions so people are sicker than they used to be, no longer bar some young people from serving. The military is finding that a lot of people are having these conditions, chronic conditions that they would have normally turned people away for, but now they find that they have to accept them. Those conditions are going to be physical and psychological, I think. We just have so many people on antidepressants, stimulants, etc. And they're getting started at a very young age at this point. You'll hear about high school students that have been on Adderall for 10 years already. This second paragraph brings up a point that I had never thought of before. That was fine when the Air Force was drawing down, Haranak says. However, as the military ramps back up and the world becomes more volatile, at the same time the economy improves and fewer young people are eligible to serve, recruiters will need to cast a wider net. The interesting point that I hadn't thought of is, as the economy improves, the military has to compete with stronger businesses offering higher wages for the labor of the next generation, of the young people. Moving along, it says, the Air Force had restrictive tattoo and marijuana policies that weren't consistent with the other services. Now that marijuana is legal in some states, you have to allow prior marijuana use. At the bottom it says there were over 200 ways you could be medically disqualified from joining the Air Force. We had to update some of those policies. There's data out there showing we can take a little bit more risk on the medical side. It is really concerning to me that we are allowing sicker and sicker people into our military. We really need to examine why our children are getting sicker and sicker, why we need to allow these extra medical conditions into the military, and what medical conditions are so widespread that our military is concerned about them. Now someone interested in joining the Air Force who has a condition such as attention deficit disorder or asthma gets a closer look instead of being disqualified automatically. So there you can see a psychological disorder, attention deficit, and asthma, a physical disorder. They're going after both sides of these conditions, but don't think it will be limited to these conditions. I expect depression to be a major thing that the military begins to allow. I've heard from friends in the military that if you ever get too depressed or you think about doing something harmful to yourself, you're supposed to tell a superior so that they can get you the proper help and get you kind of out of the military, if need be. Recruits with more than a quarter of their arms, legs, chest, or back tattooed are also now eligible, as are some people who've used marijuana in the past. Like I said, I think that's consistent with the state laws and also consistent with the culture that's evolving with regards to tattoos. A lot more people are getting them these days, at a lot younger ages too. Recruiters also face some anti-military activists in their communities who distribute brochures discouraging young people from talking to recruiters. Some pamphlets warn that recruiters are nothing but salespeople trying to make a quota, or that recruits will be used to carry out the Pentagon's agenda. And that's exactly why I'm proud of the anti-military activists. They don't want to carry out the Pentagon's agenda. The Pentagon's agenda has been getting us in trouble in the Middle East since I've been a little kid. So, of course, anyone intelligent doesn't want to be just a pawn of the Pentagon's agenda. That's probably why they have to lower their educational requirements, because only dumb people at this point don't know that our military is just being jerked around by oil interests in the Middle East. Not to mention that you're at a higher risk of sexual trauma or that you may develop post-traumatic stress disorder. To counter these efforts, veterans should get out and share their stories and talk about how the military improved their lives. I'm not so sure that that's going to help. When I talk to people who have graduated from the military, veterans, I get a profound sense that they are mentally damaged, that they have been trained as killers. They kind of like to kill. And that just doesn't translate to me. It doesn't make me feel comfortable around them. It doesn't make me want to be their friend. I really think the military is a profoundly damaging experience for a child's mind. And that's what they are. 17 to 24-year-old, you're still basically a developing mind. So what kind of solutions does the article put forth? Well, the article says the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank, has pressed Congress to make school lunches healthier to combat the obesity epidemic, basically joining the Michelle Obama initiative. Now, I don't know if you have seen a middle school lunch recently, but those school lunches are, in general, terrible. They're very unhealthy, usually greasy. The vegetables are terrible. No one eats vegetables in a school cafeteria because nobody knows how to cook vegetables. When I think about school lunch, the first thing that pops in my mind is that rectangular pizza with soggy French fries and a carton of milk, chocolate milk. That's simply not going to cut it. That's not healthy. It's very greasy, and frankly, I'd like to see a few moms come to the cafeteria and eat the school lunches for a week or so. I don't think smart parents subject their children to food like this, and if you're getting food like this in the cafeteria, you're getting an education like this to match in the classroom. This is actually 1/3 of what we feed our children, 1/3 of the meals we give our children, and for the military to be the first people to scratch their head and say, hey, maybe we need to improve this. Why isn't it the mothers? The person who cooks the meal at home should be wondering, what else are you eating? Why are you sick? I feed you healthy food at home. Why are you coming home sick or bloated or gassy? Why are you developing these illnesses? Why are you getting asthma when I feed you healthy things at home? Oh, your school lunch is disgusting. I think we're a more health conscious society than we have been in the past. But I do think that the school lunches are a major blind spot that mothers kind of just trust the school. Just trust the government to feed their children food. Well, guess what? The government does everything terribly. Your children are not being educated. That's why the military says they're too dumb. They're not being fed right. That's why the military says they're too fat. And so many have mental disorders that now the military is allowing anyone who's taken pills even for their whole lives. A lot of the people with attention deficit disorder are completely reliant on their stimulants. Every single day they'll take Vyvanse or Adderall, whatever, in the morning, and that just gets them through the day, or else they don't wake up. I wonder how the health insurance for the military personnel is. I wonder if they're able to fill their stimulant prescriptions overseas. It's just an interesting question. Anyway, that's going to do it for the show. Thank you guys so much for listening. This is Ross Madden with the Truther Think Tank. Stop by exposethedeepstate.com, pick up your real news, and have a great, great day.